Hello world! Welcome back to another picoCTF 2022 write-up video. In this video, we'll be walking through the reverse engineering challenge Wizardlike, worth 500 points. Let's get into it. So I'm not going to read all this. Basically, it just tells you that you're going to be reverse engineering this game where you're just moving around and a dot is a floor and a pound is a wall, and the less than sign is the stairs up to the previous level, and the greater than sign is the stairs down to the next level. So why don't we go ahead and take a look and see what that looks like. And you'll notice that you're represented by the @ symbol, and as you move, more parts of the map are revealed. Kind of like an open world game almost. Except that you can't get to the other side, which is kind of the goal here, right? Or to find a way around that. So I found that I could simply just get all the maps for all the floors without having to actually play the game. At first I ran strings on it, and I realized that all the maps were revealed in like consistent strings essentially. If you scroll up, you'll notice it here. See, this is one of the floors. Now I did use Cutter originally to kind of scope out what the code looked like, just in case I could kind of reverse engineer it, and you probably could, but I don't see the point. It's actually much easier to do it the way I'm about to show you. It does take a little bit of time though. So let's go ahead and launch the game again, and I want you to notice something here. At least on the first level, which is what I used for a baseline, there's 16 rows, okay? So that's what we're going with. And then I assumed that each row had, of course, the same number of characters in it. So 16 by something would give us this whole map. Now, what I did was, I actually popped this open in Notepad++, and I tried to figure out what that second value would be, the number of columns that is. So if you notice in here, if you scroll down a little bit, you'll notice the first map, sort of. Obviously it's mingled up because you can't really see it very well, but each floor is prefixed, at least in here, by a bunch of null characters to start with. So this chunk right here is going to be our floor, and then this will be the second floor, third floor, fourth floor, so on and so forth until you get to the 10th floor. Now I had to figure out what exactly the second value would be, and I wrote a script to do that, and I can show you now. I'm gonna go ahead and maximize this. Oh, one other thing I wanted to show you really quick is if you go from the first level to the second, you'll notice that it's separated by 10,000 characters. And then if you do the same thing again, 10,000 characters. And it's the same, even up until the end. See, floor 10, 10,000 characters. So I knew that 10,000 had to be divisible by 16 in order to get this to work. So what I did was I simply brought out a calculator and did 10,000 divided by 16. Okay, cool. Now I didn't want to have all this extra space here, so what would be a value that we could shrink 10,000 down to both be divisible by 16 and something else? Well, I was thinking 1600, because 16 times 100 is 1,600, and then you can keep going with that and get to 10,000 if you wanted to. So I kind of had like a baseline math theory in my head going into this from preliminary research, essentially, or reconnaissance if you want to call it that. So let's go ahead and quit out of that. So if you look over at the script I have here, I have a debug flag here because this is the first part that I did in order to solve this. I was playing around with how many columns that we could have in order to get something that, you know, to complete the map essentially, right? Because we can't see it as it is. And all this chunks does is split it up into even amounts of chunks. So it's gonna take floor 1, which I have right here, which I copied and pasted from here. Inside the Notepad++ document, but for some reason, there we go. I copied it from here, of course, and I pasted it in, and I originally had all 10,000 characters, because That's what I thought I needed. But then I shrunk it down to 1,600 characters, because if you look, so this would be a lot more manageable and easier to look at because it'd be a lot shorter. But I still needed something that was both divisible by 16 and divisible by 1,000, because then we could get 10,000. Or we could still have 10,000, since 1,000 and 16 are both factors of 10,000. So, knowing that, I kind of set my sights on 1,600, so I pasted 1,600 characters in, which did, as you saw, fill up the whole map, essentially, and then some. Or cover the whole map, I should say. And then I split that up into chunks of whatever, right? I start from 16, and then I work my way up to 100. Now, I did have a different value here, something larger originally, but you'll see why I put it back to 101 here in a second. So we'll go ahead and run this. And there you go. Then it dawned on me, okay, wait a minute. If we had revealed the rest of the map, or if we revealed the rest of the floors, then we'll know what the flag is. Because as you can see, picoCTF open brace, and that's where the next section of code comes in. So let me go ahead and change our debug flag to 0. And I'll clear that. Actually, I'll leave that up for a sec. So I basically took each floor and I copied it in here from Notepad++, you know, using the methods I told you about, which is all I did was highlight up until something that was divisible by, well, it doesn't have to be divisible. I know from playing the game that not every output is going to have 16 rows. It was just only for that one case. But now that I know that the number of characters per row is going to be 100, all we have to do is have a number that's divisible by 100. So we just have to highlight, for example, here, we would just have to highlight up to 1,600 again. Now, not all of them, again, are going to be 1,600 characters that we have to highlight, but as long as the number we get, or the number of characters that we highlight, is divisible by 100, this algorithm works. So I just copy and paste it for each floor, and now we can recompose the map. Now let's go ahead and clear, and let's make sure I save it. There we go. Let's run it. Okay, so we'll scroll up to the beginning of where it started executing, and we'll notice, okay, picoCTF, that's floor 1. You're a wizard, that's floor 2. And then the rest of the 8 levels are going to be those 8 characters that we get that are RNG based. So 8F, or count based rather, 4B, 0, 4A, E, and then closing curly brace. Now, you have to be careful. If you have an 8 in your output, it may not be an 8, it could be a 3. And if it's not a 3, it could also be an 8. Now, I don't know what the 8 looks like. I feel like it's either it may be the same thing, or it may be, you know, surrounded on all sides, but who knows. Regardless, that's your flag. Okay, I'll scroll back through it one more time so you can see it. Well, my flag. You'll have to do this on your own if you want your flag, of course. And that's basically how I did it. It's pretty simple. I know there's ways you could have, or I could have teleported or done other things to get to the other parts of the map I wanted to, but this just seemed easier. I know I based it off of a lot of assumptions, but in the end it worked out. So I'm glad that maybe I found or provided you with a better or faster way of solving this that you may not have thought of originally. So let me go ahead and show you what the full flag looks like. So that's it right there. picoCTF, you're a wizard. All right. And that wraps it up for this video. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like and subscribe to the channel to show your support. Turn on post notifications to get regular injections of cyber content directly into your feed. Check out our Patreon, join our Discord, and follow us on Twitter. Links in the description box down below. And leave any feedback or questions in the comments section down below. This is Almond Milk. Thanks for watching. Goodbye, world.